one that comes to mind the most is to close the ER. And Tim knows I say that facetiously, but what we need a way to do, and it's been done through setting up this community health clinic, is we need to be able to set up a system at the hospital where the emergency room is not used as everybody's outpatient clinic, okay? And that just, a true emergency ends up sitting in there, sometimes several minutes to hours because they can't be seen because these other people know they don't have to pay if they come to the ER, so they come for their colds and sore throats. So setting up that community clinic would be, although that's adding a service actually, but yet it's also decreasing the visits to the emergency room, which is where certainly is a big financial drain for the hospital.
Other communities have been faced with this challenge also. My first thought would be, let's not make any cuts. Let's increase our revenues. If cuts need to be made, the way other communities have done that is they've set up an indigent care, or as Bill had said, another type of clinic. There are government grants that are available for that, and I'd like to see us pursue those grants rather than make the cuts that you're referring to.
Tim, you've looked at the economy of the medical business for a number of years. If we had not built when we did, would we be able to do it next year?
No. Mainly because there's certain things that you have to do if you have bonds that you sell or loans. Right. Not anymore because of our numbers that we had in relationship to our cash in the bank was something like $40 million, which we used about 15 to 25 or something like that in the long run in order to do what we were able to do. And that's the problem that you run into. And so that's the same. As far as making the cuts are concerned, a lot of people know this, but last year we went through this thing before we ever got to this tax increase and did numerous cuts in relationship to things that we were doing in our hospital. I would not say that all the cuts that we did were the best for everybody is concerned, because in many cases we took some things such as matching salaries type that we use as far as our employees in their retirement program, that we took some of that away from them. And that's one of the things that when you try to do. Sometimes when these things happen, we do it. Maybe sometimes we do an overkill. That's always possible. But at any rate, we did a lot of those things last year, and we're still looking at. I'm kind of like that fellow that's I'm just kind of hoping that there's some things that we've already put in place that the federal government's going to come along, and sure enough, by chance, and then one of the things I'm talking about, that stimulus thing, that is going to help us a great deal, and I hope that will be able to offset that number that we've been talking about.
And back to your question, Joseph Crouch, my name. I work in finance, and the equation is fairly simple. Revenue minus expenses is net income. To have a positive net income, you either have to lower expenses or raise revenue. A combination of both is warranted. Specific cuts, I don't know of any specific cut to tell you today. I will say this, as a board of director, I would be concerned with each expenditure that we have the ability to review, and would compare that to the budget that was laid out. Revenue is probably the majority. That's the most important thing on our income statement. In reference to the ER statement made by Dr. Dietz, that's a tremendous problem for the hospital. I did not know that we have the community care unit specifically designed for non-emergency cases. It's available to the community. That would take the strain off the ER department to allow them to go to the critically injured person. With the increase of new doctors, specifically those specialized physicians, offering more broad services to the community, good for the community, good for the revenue of the hospital. Thank you.
hospital would not be able to rebuild at this point because we would need a certificate of need issued by the federal government. Right now, we're competing heavily with Mother Frances Hospital and ETMC. With that, we'd have to get a certificate of necessity issued by the government, and right now we're limited to 100 beds. And at this point, we have 96. I think it'd be rather difficult to get that passed.
Is there anyone else got any questions? Okay, well, no, let's give, I want to say this. I can't believe we've got this many qualified, good candidates running for board. And Leon Stone's not here, but I know Leon's good. And I want to thank you guys because you know you're never going to do everything right, and you're going to get more people telling you what a lousy job you're doing than what a good job you're doing. So I know you're running and you're doing it because you want to serve the community. Yeah. Yeah, the pay is what's outstanding too. But thank y'all. Thank you for coming tonight. We're proud to have you as our guest. And at this, now y'all can sit down if you'd like for just a moment. Jim Thompson is needing to tell us something. Jim, if you can come forward. I don't know if y'all been paying any attention to it or not, but Jim's going to talk to us just for a minute about the redistricting that's voted on in the House today and what it means to our House district.
Thank you, Donnie, for this opportunity. Fear makes the enemy stronger. And the best way to counter a strong enemy is to give you the information that you need so that you do not feel fear. So I want to give you just a little bit of information for those of you who may not know the details of the process that is ongoing in Austin. Let me stop for just a minute and say, for those of you who do not know me, I am Jim Thompson. I am the District Director for State Representative Irwin Cain. I'm a local boy, been here 45 years. In fact, when I was 19, Dr. Dietz gave my nose a front-end alignment job. I think it was his first year to be in practice here. And I've been basically on the straight and narrow ever since. I guess maybe I ought to give him the credit for that. Some of you have heard or checked into it. The House of Representatives this morning at about 10 minutes until 3 voted to approve the redistricting bill for the House that was voted out of committee. Now, those of you who stay on top of these kinds of things know that that was not the choice that State Representative Irwin Cain would have made. And some people have expressed some very grave disappointment, some fear, whatever. And what I want to tell you just in a matter of 2 or 3 minutes here is what to expect next. This is not a done deal. The way the process works is the House has approved this plan. The Senate will approve whatever plan it has for the Senate. There's every reason to believe that the Senate will not approve the plan that the House has approved. If it is not approved by the Senate, it can't become law, at least not in its current state. Even if the Senate does approve the redistricting plan for the House, the governor has already said he'll veto it. So there's 2 things that you can hope for if you have the same perspective that our state representative has. What will happen if it either goes to the governor and he vetoes it, or if it doesn't ever make it that far? Governor Perry will appoint the members who are typically statewide office holders, which means they are all conservative Republicans, to the Legislative Redistricting Board. The LRB is a term that you will hear. They will come up with a plan that will be influenced by Governor Perry. That's one of the reasons that he is probably going to take that action and why it's good for him to do so. And the LRB will come up with a plan that they and the governor believe is better suited to the needs of the state of Texas. That plan would then have to be vetted by the U.S. Department of Justice. There has already been one lawsuit filed, already since 3 o'clock this morning when they took the vote. There will probably be many others. The vote that happened this morning sounds like a final determined choice. It is not. We still have work to do, but whatever turns out to be the district alignment that will finally be official, we can pretty well count on a rock bottom solid answer that it will not be what was approved in the House this morning. One of the things you never want to see made is sausage and laws, is what Bill Bradford always told me years ago. What was going on in the House through the night as they debated for 16 hours, and what they came up with is something we really don't want to look at. I do have a map in my notebook in the back. If any of you are specifically interested, I can show you the outlines of House District 3 as it stands today, and what they approved that we pretty well know will never come into force, but what they actually approved in the middle of the night while we thought we were sleeping securely. So if you want to see how those two compare, I'd be glad to show it to you. But I just wanted you to know there's still a lot of work to be done, and what will become official ultimately, I can pretty well guarantee you, is not what was approved in the middle of the night. Those are my comments. I do not mean for this to be an official statement on behalf of State Representative. That's just based on my knowledge of the process, and I wholeheartedly believe that's what you should expect to happen. It won't make it out of the Senate. Even if it does make it out of the Senate, it won't make it past the governor's veto. It will go to the Legislative Redistricting Board, and then where it goes from there is anybody's guess. But at least we will have the kind of people making those decisions on our behalf that we are at least in general agreement with. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, right now,
Probably not yet.
Not yet, because it's pretty well a done deal in the House. And then, like I said, Lord only knows where it's going to wind up. In case for you all that don't know, it's referred to as the Solomon Plan because he was chairman of the committee. District 3, Irwin's district, is more or less evaporated. Irwin would have Hopkins, Hunt, and Van Zandt County. Currently, Dan Flynn represents, and he's been in there for 12 years, I believe, and he represents Van Zandt and Hunt County, and I don't know what other county, maybe Range or something now, but they will be paired together, and it's the wildest thing. That plan has one district running from just west of Fort Worth all the way up to the northern Panhandle, 300 and something miles. I've been on the phone quite a bit about this. We've been trying for months on this, but it really looks like to me what happened to Irwin was exactly what Representative Brian Hughes said that Larry Phillips, who is he back several months ago, allegedly he was on the telephone with Brian Hughes, told Brian, don't worry about your seat, you're safe, but we're gonna redistrict Kane out of office. Well, they had a big hearing in Austin. Hughes was under oath when he give his statements to them. Phillips was not under oath when he gave his statements. So they didn't do anything about it. But like I told Chairman Miniseri the other day when I was talking to him, I said, it looks to me like what happened is exactly what allegedly Phillips said was going to happen. And the chairman even admitted to me when he was talking, he said, Donnie, I'm not going to tell you that politics didn't have something to do with it. And anyhow, at least in our deal. But hopefully it'll be better when it gets to at the end result. Well, they go through this every 10 years. I don't know why that the House even does it outside of the Constitution says it got to, because they never settle it. It always goes to the board that the governor appoints nearly. And then a lot of times the courts redo it then. But anyhow, Jim, we thank you for your time.